We are going to talk about the laziest, most low effort strategies I could think of that still really work for fat loss. First episode back, we talked about things that are bullshit. Today, we're going to try to talk about things that are not. I hope that these strategies help. They're really simple. I tried to make them super, super doable, like kind of no matter who you are. I feel like there's this underlying message that being healthy has to take a ton of effort or it doesn't count or something. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Just that being healthy can't just be for everyone. Like being healthy has to be your whole thing, or you have to like joke about how you're not healthy. Like there's no in between. That makes no sense to me because I think 90% of people kind of want the in between. Like not everyone wants to do what it takes to have a rippling six pack, but most people would be okay with that. They just want to feel good. They want to feel like they look good. Like it doesn't have to be as hard as people make it. So I want to jump right into it. The first thing you can do is just to space out your eating flat out. There's something called the migrating motor complex, and that is basically, think of it as like your digestive cleanup system. So migrating motor complex activates after about 3 hours of not consuming anything. So not eating. What this does is it's kind of a digestive cleanup mechanism that sweeps out your system, cleans it out, and then your digestion can improve for the following meal. That's kind of the whole idea with this. The reason that I really like it isn't because it's some magical complex that like will fix everything in your life. It's not going to get you out of debt, but what it will do is it'll make you a little bit more mindful in between meals of what you're eating. So if you're a person that grazes all the time, or you feel like you're eating X amount of calories, but you're not losing weight and you don't know why, you're like, okay, I'm following the plan. I should be losing weight. You're not. You may just be eating more calories than you think you are. The little bites here and there, and the grab this here, and eating off the kid's plate. There's so many little things that we end up just taking throughout the day and eating if we're not more aware of it. And what I think this does is it makes you sit down for a meal, think about the meal, think about what will actually satiate you because you know you're not going to eat for another 3 hours. And then in the off time, you'll find yourself reaching for something and you'll go, oh, I have to wait. It hasn't been 3 hours yet. And sometimes that alone can do wonders. It can also be super, super good for regulating your appetite. So I think that it's not talked about. You can really manipulate the times of day you get hungry. So like people that do intermittent fasting, and like we'll go into that a different episode, but people that do intermittent fasting, they tend to get hungry around the time that they're supposed to break their fast. And that doesn't happen all at once. It takes usually a few months, but at that point, they don't really get hungry in their off times. And you'll hear people say this, like, I'm just not hungry anymore at like the times I'm supposed to be eating, or I just don't want breakfast anymore. I think people forget how hormonal hunger is. Like hunger is a hormonal reaction. You can feel physical hunger, but hunger signals like I need to eat. It's a hormone, just like a hormone that like you have to pee. I think people think that these mechanisms are more physical than they are, and they're not. They're very much chemical and they're very much responsive. So keep that in mind. You are not going to be doing anything magic by waiting 3 hours in between your meals, but you may be able to control your intake a little bit easier. Second thing, bulk up your meals with a shit ton, like so many vegetables. Don't even think about how ridiculous it is to throw an entire bag of frozen broccoli into mac and cheese. Just do it. This is why. When you are bulking up something that is really palatable, so like mac and cheese, that's a good example, right? So we're eating mac and cheese. We have a whole pot of mac and cheese, and we could just eat that pot of mac and cheese, right? And say that is 2 cups worth. 2 cups of mac and cheese, but then you pour in 2 cups of broccoli to that. So now the total is 4 cups, but each of those 2 cup servings, those are going to be half the calories because now half of it is broccoli. So it still tastes like mac and cheese. It still tastes probably pretty freaking good. You get some veggies in, you are feeling way more full, and therefore you eat less of the actual mac and cheese itself. And it's so, so easy to do. Buy frozen vegetables so you don't end up throwing them all away at the end of the month because, I don't know, I'm so sick of seeing like all of the veggies that went to die in the back of my fridge. It just makes me feel like a bad person. This one, it's really good if you do well with like guidelines. So there's a few actually kind of under this umbrella, and it's just manipulating the circumstances in which you eat. So first thing you can do that's like a super classic one is eat on a smaller plate. So it's been proven that if you use a smaller plate, you will eat less. If you do that for every meal, that adds up, you will lose weight. The other things you can implement to make eating kind of a multi-step process, or to have to think about it a little bit more, be a little bit more mindful, are you can Tell yourself, you have to sit down or plate every meal. Like everything you eat has to be off of a plate. You can do both. It's something that adds an extra step. And just like the first few, it's just really getting you to be in the moment. We do these things so automatically. So if you can be a little bit more mindful because you have these stipulations in place, usually you'll find that you don't want to actually go get a full plate of goldfish and sit down at the kitchen table with it because you don't actually want them that bad. And once it doesn't seem worth it to sit down and eat it at the table with a plate, you're probably not hungry. You might be bored. You might be thirsty. You might be whatever. It's not one of those things where you should just not listen to your hunger signals, but it's a tool you can use in circumstances where you may be unsure. This next one, this is like, I recommend this to everyone, not even if you're trying to lose weight. I just think it's good for your health. So add a salad every day or a meal that's just basically veggies with something on top of it. So if you have a fully vegetable based meal every single day and that replaces a meal that was not that way, it is very, very hard to not lose weight. As long as you don't dress it up in a bunch of crap. If you douse it in blue cheese, like, yeah, it might not be as successful for you. However, if you're reasonable about it and you use common sense, it doesn't have to be like crazy complex or crazy hard to have this certain formula. Whatever vegetables, whatever you want, add some protein to it, do that once a day. It's gonna replace a lot of crap and keep you a lot fuller than a lot of the crap that you maybe were eating before. And then you're in a net positive. So this next one, I want to actually really explain because I think people misunderstand gaining muscle and gaining tone and what is tone and is tone real? And there's all these things. So the next one is to resistance train. All resistance training means is that you are resisting something. That usually means some form of weightlifting, some form of band training, band resisted training. You're challenging your muscles in some way. The goal here is to have enough muscle mass that you are burning more at rest. Yeah. So let's back that up. If you have a pound of muscle and a pound of fat, the first thing to know about a pound of muscle and a pound of fat is that they are the same weight, but they are not the same size. The pound of fat is going to take up much more room, almost double, than the pound of fat would. That's why people can lose inches and lose all of this. That's why people can lose inches and have these crazy before and after photos. And the before and after photo, like they didn't actually lose any weight on the scale. Aside from being more dense than fat is, muscle is also more metabolically active. And that sounds fancy. It's not. All metabolically active means is that it takes more calories from your body to maintain a pound of muscle and to keep it living and alive than it does for it to keep a pound of fat on your body. So if we have more muscle on our body, because it takes more of our calories and our daily energy to sustain that muscle, we're going to burn more just by being and existing. That is kind of the goal. And that's why I think that people don't have a muscle base and it's really hard for them to lose weight. And then when they do actually lose weight, all of a sudden they're still not happy because it's not how they thought they were going to look because they, yes, lost the fat, which is awesome. But if you're not revealing anything underneath, AKA you haven't built a muscle base to kind of show through, you're just going to be smaller and you're not going to be more toned. You're not going to look more defined. And a lot of times that's what people go for. It's obviously personal preference, but the worst thing is trying to do one thing and putting a lot of effort and then realizing that maybe that wasn't the thing that you wanted. And that sucks. So if I can tell you before that happens, all the better. All right, last one. This is like basically non-negotiable in my book. So every single day after work, when I feel like I'm ready to explode and I just want to go home and I want to lie on the couch, I walk the dog every single day. I take her to a field. I have a ton of fun with her. She's off leash. She makes me laugh. It's great. I therefore always get 10,000 steps. But I'm very fortunate to, have a job. I can work on my feet and I can be around and I'm not, stuck in like a place all day where I have to be seated. That makes things a lot easier. That being said, I don't care. I don't care. Whatever your circumstances, I want you to live a long and healthy life and whatever it may be. There's a million reasons that getting a certain amount of steps are so correlated to all-cause mortality, aka will you die or not? That is not even up for debate. Like if you want to argue what reason is the reason, that's fine, but it's so proven. If you are hitting 4,000 steps or more a day, that's the bare minimum. It is the bare minimum. If you are hitting 7 to 8 a day, great. Try not to let it fall below that. If you can hit 10,000 steps a day, or just add a half an hour walk to whatever you're already doing, you will feel like a new fucking person. I promise you that. And it's wild because it's something about, yes, moving around and going for a walk, especially if you're outside, you're in nature. But with that, like the things that come along with that are like sunlight exposure, which like everyone's fucking deficient in vitamin D these days. It's insane. Then just like the ability to not be sitting inside, like to get and remove yourself from a space, it is magical for the mindset. It can totally reset you. I go home after that. I do hours of computer work. Like, yes, I'm tired, but I'm fine. Like that break is so, so vital to me being able to work as many hours as I do. So if I can recommend it to you for your health, and you love that, great, get your 10,000 steps. If that's not enough, I'm telling you, I live for this walk every single day. It is far more valuable to me than my workout. So kind of take that as you will. So those are my laziest fat loss tips. If you want more lazy fat loss tips, you can go to my website, 23hourhealth.com, which feels so exciting for me to say. And I did see after our last episode that there was a lot of new emails on the list. So if you guys are signing up, that is so cool. And it made my night, just so you know. It absolutely, it's the coolest thing. I'm really, really excited about this. So I appreciate you guys supporting it. It's very kind of you. So until next time, don't listen to bullshit. Go for a hot girl walk. Save your own life. You got this shit.